Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
The first Sunday of winter settles upon Reservoir for a match week 16 showdown between the Preston Lions and Box Hill United. Preston banished from the Cup on Wednesday night in a season that has offered more frustration than fulfilment. Neither chasing glory nor fearing the disaster of relegation, Preston find themselves searching for something perhaps even more elusive: momentum. And the league champions come to Reservoir today. May brought 3 wins from 5 for Box Hill United, though the league's top spot has slipped away after the surprise result at Keilor Park yesterday. Second spot on the table is there for the Pythagoras taking this afternoon. Brent Sternberg and Oscar Rutherford here with you at Geneseo Stadium for the final game of match week 16 in the Senol NPLW. 11th placed Preston and 4th placed Box Hill United, live on the NPL Victoria YouTube channel. We'll welcome Oscar in just a moment. Preston have made 3 changes from the side that lost midweek to Clifton Hill. Alan Gaudry, Isabella Tribbiano and Olivia Edwards all drop back to the bench. They are replaced in the starting 11 by Felicity Duffy, Yasmin Popovic and mid-season signing now Matt Samuto. Charlotte Rahorison is the goalkeeper. The back 4 of Eva Harrington, Yasmin Popovic, Misuho Yamada and Freya Duffy. The 2 holding midfielders, Alana Popovic and Dragana Klajic. The 3 midfielders ahead of those 2 will be at the number 7 in the number 10 position now, Matt Samuto, flanked by Amy Medwin and Eva Papaleo, and Captain Valentine Percy will lead the line for Preston this afternoon. Box Hill United, who haven't played since last Friday's 3-1 win over the Bentley Greens, they make 1 change from that starting 11. Holly Murray back to the bench, replaced by Pearl Teen. Kili Segovic is the goalkeeper. The back 4 of Laura Pickett, Sophia Paliwota the captain, Sydney Manerick and Amelia Tartaglia. Maho Murakami and Pearl Teen will start ahead of the back 4. Rihanna Policina in front of those 2, flanked by Chiara Bercelli and Nicola Bacallo, and Karina Rossi, fresh off a superb brace last Friday night. She will lead the line for Box Hill United this afternoon, chasing second spot on the table. Our referee in the middle is Ben Howell. Our assistants, Lynn Cho Man Yan and Giselle Spezza. And the 4th official down below is Liana Georgiev. To bring the curtain down on match week 16. In the previous seasons would be heading towards the back stretch, but we still have 10 league matches to come after this match here is run and won. Box Hill United in Box Hill blue and Preston in Preston red, as I welcome in Oscar Rutherford for the first time this afternoon, who called Preston's loss on Wednesday night to Clifton Hill and called it very well, and they are looking to try and maybe get on a second half run here in season 2026, spurred by the A-League and mid-season acquisitions, not too dissimilar to what Box Hill United themselves were able to do last season, Oscar.
Yeah, well, that's right, Brent, as we kick off. A big opportunity today for Preston to get a little bit of redemption, which they sorely need, because as you mentioned, that midweek cup set at the hands of VPLW outfit Clifton Hill, really a low point in what's been a difficult season for the Lions' campaign. Of course, so much chopping and changing in the off-season, having made such an impact in the top flight of Victorian women's football over the last 3 or 4 seasons, and it's been a bit of a crash back to earth. As you say, they'll be hoping that some of their mid-season recruits can maybe spur them onto a stronger second half of the campaign. Now Matsumoto out there this afternoon, as well as Amy Medwin again. Amy Medwin, who was probably Preston's best on a difficult midweek night, but against a Box Hill side, and Box Hill are a bit of an enigma, I think, at this stage of the season because of all those recruits that they've made. Yes, they're players who've played for Box Hill before, the likes of Karina Rossi, Rihanna Policina, etc. But just to disrupt what's been a fairly impressive first few months of the season with new faces, new players. Always interesting to see how that adjustment period takes place. But yeah, big opportunity for Box Hill with the slip-ups, not just of Boleyn, but Burundara as well. So a really good opportunity for them to move clear into second spot.
Preston 4 wins, 4 draws and 7 losses in the league. Coming off really back-to-back miserable performances. Obviously the shock loss here on Wednesday night in the Cup to Clifton Hill, but on the weekend last week, a 3-0 loss at Lakeside. So a side that lost a lot of players in the off-season. They've been a great addition to the Senol NPLW after being promoted a few seasons ago now. As a disappointing clearance there from Kili Segovic. The throw in here for Eva Papaleo. It looks like Eva has lined up at left back this afternoon for Preston in what did look like a 4-1-4-1 in those early stanzas, with Alana Filipovic playing in between the two blocks of four. And Box Hill United did win here last time they made the venture out to Reservoir. It was one of their best wins of the season, actually, and one of their last wins that they had before the A-League Women's Cavalry arrived. Dragana Klajic and Percy trying to backheel that one and create something. And back out of play for a Preston throw-in. Box Hill, 10 wins, 1 draw and 4 losses. A stunning result, really. Keilor Park beating Bulleen yesterday at home, opening the door for Box Hill United to go up into second position on the table. Of course, they have spent a lot of time this season on top. We've had a few teams take their turn on top. Bulleen have had their chance, and now the Essendon Royals, who have, well, they're probably the form team of the Senol NPLW, aren't they, Oscar, the Royals?
They absolutely are. It's a really interesting period for Box Hill, not just because of the new recruits and new names or returning names to the lineup, but also because this is the first of a run of 5 consecutive away games. We know that they front-loaded their season with home games at Wembley Park.
As Policina's crossing towards the near post, and arriving was Bocelli. And will be disappointed that she wasn't able to bundle that one into the net and get Box Hill United off to a fast start here. The brilliant and electric left winger for Box Hill United, who, well, I've called Box Hill a few times this season, Oscar. I don't live too far from Wembley Park. I don't like to travel that far, you know, not even for my holidays. She's just about been Box Hill United's best player this season, the Kiwi.
I think it's one of the most exciting things to see with how this Box Hill team pans out, seeing Chiara Bocelli combined with the likes of Rossi and Policina. I mean, we saw it there already, and it's got the potential to be a nigh-on unstoppable combination up top. But just to finish on that point, the Box Hill away run that they're going to have to do over the next couple of months, away from Wembley Park, they haven't actually been that impressive. 3 of their 4 losses this campaign have come away from home, so it's something that they'll need to improve on when they head into so many games that are a little bit further away from home than they're used to.
Having a good little spell in possession here, Murakami strikes from distance. And Charlotte Rahorison, who is one of the best young goalkeepers in all of the Senol NPLW. Of course, she was the rising star, wasn't she, earlier on this season in the month of February. Back at Preston this year. That's not a great clearance. Gone straight to the aforementioned Chiara Bocelli, who's showing off her neat skills there in tight. Here's Pearlteen, who's back in the starting 11 this afternoon for Pythagoras. And Tartaglia, she's not one that likes to shoot from distance all too often. Bacallo, stretch of starts for her after missing so much of the early season. Policina plays it off Mizuho Yamada, and it deflects behind for the game's first corner kick.
A really strong response from Box Hill to having been on the back foot in the opening minute or two, now looking to apply a bit of the pressure to their hosts with the first corner kick of the afternoon. Maho Murakami readying to deliver, and does so right into the heart of the penalty area. The Preston heads were there. Valentine Percy left the highest, and potential now for a Preston Lions counter-attack through Eva Harrington. Doesn't get too far, though, and Box Hill quickly regained possession. It was a feature of their game in midweek, Preston, that they had a lot of possession, were spending a lot of their time trying to break down Clifton Hill. It's probably not expecting the game to look quite like that this afternoon, with Box Hill so comfortable with the ball at their feet and so dangerous as well. So we see Murakami's ball centrally. It's a clever return pass into the path of Rihanna Policina. Doesn't quite pan out, as now Bucalo on the edge of the area. Preston bodies scrambling to get back and close down the space. Here's Bocelli. Skips around Harrington. Chiara Bocelli with the cross inside. There was a look for Karina Rossi. Directed it towards goal, but well blocked initially. Just at the minute, Brent. Box Hill really applying the squeeze on Preston.
Yes, indeed. Matsumoto trying to relieve the pressure there. Out for Valentine Percy. Matsumoto just joined Preston recently. She was playing in the top division of Japanese football. Matsumoto, Chorizo Osaka, come to play her football here in Victoria. So what was their their problem on Wednesday night, Preston, Oscar? What would they have analysed themselves as the biggest issue?
Well, I think the game on Wednesday night, there was just a real lack of penetration from Preston with the ball. They spent a lot of time passing it around with their defensive players, trying to, I think, spread the pitch a little bit. But Clifton Hill, I mean, credit to the VPL team. They were so well drilled and so compact, difficult to break down. And with the exception of the first 10-15 minutes of the game, Preston just weren't able to create the clear-cut opportunities that they needed. Clifton Hill didn't have an incredible number of looks either, to be fair, but Clifton Hill, when they were presented with them, they took their chances, and Preston it was a bit like banging your head against a brick wall at times. You didn't really feel they were likely. Amy Medwin, as I think I mentioned in the pre-game, was probably looked the most likely. We haven't seen a huge deal of Medwin in the opening 7-8 minutes of this one, but she certainly has that capacity to really just, on her own accord, find a way through a sturdy opposition defence. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this game pans out differently, considering Preston will probably have less of the burden of possession and more chance to spring things forward in transition.
Harrington's cross, well taken by the confident Keely Segovic. Of course, this time Wednesday night we'd already had 2 goals scored. Preston going behind very early. In just the second minute, both of the cup games that you and I were on, Oscar, had goals early on. You only had the 3 goals on Wednesday night. I was lucky enough to call 10 of them.
Extraordinary game, Heidelberg and Georgie's, wasn't it?
Yeah, George Croft scoring 4 goals and still losing. Remarkable. Heidelberg United rattling in 6 of their own. And Box Hill looking to press here as Yamada out for Matsumoto. We're getting our first look at her this afternoon. Happy to retreat back to Charlotte Rahorison. Of course, Box Hill United will play their cup match next weekend. Of course, it's a bye round next weekend in the Senol NPLW, but Box Hill United will play a cup game against the Melbourne City Academy Girls. That game will be out at the Casey Fields complex. Melbourne City and Box Hill United for a spot in the quarterfinals. Murakami's ball there is not going to quite find Murakami. Bakello, I should say. It's Yamada and Rahorison looking to try and find a way out here for the home side. It's not a great clearance, and it's the second clearance that's gone straight to Bocelli. Rossi, scorer of 2 stunning goals last Friday night. You mentioned how adept they are when in possession. Pythagoras, Oscar, they are number 1 in the Senol NPLW for time spent in possession. Almost 60% on average, which is a frighteningly high number. Tartaglia's cross. They just can't get the glancing header that cross required. Bocelli, but already she's at the fulcrum of everything going forward for Box Hill United.
And also very much seeing that, as you mentioned, Box Hill possession style of football. They don't just keep the ball for the sake of it either, or for purely defensive purposes. They're constructing plays all the time, and it's so engaging to watch, and to get to see Rihanna Pollicina and Karina Rossi returning to that attacking lineup to link up with the likes of Peltine and Chiara Bocelli and Bacalo. It's a fearsome prospect for the rest of the competition, and you'd imagine Box Hill will be hoping to set out a bit of a standard here this afternoon. As that ball over the top will be watched the whole way by Yasmin Popovic, but the clearing ball maybe unnecessarily behind for a corner.
I think she really wanted Rahorison to come and tidy that one up. The goalkeeper just starting this game a little bit cautiously, maybe a little bit too cautious there. You don't want to be giving away these cheap corner kicks. Box Hill, they have scored a few goals from set pieces this season, quite a few in fact.
This time it'll be Rihanna Pollicina to deliver the in-swinging corner delivery. Bocelli coming short for the quick 1-2 and maybe a more favourable angle. Pollicina, though, not quite connecting with that one the way she had envisaged in her mind.
Are you a subscriber to the corner kicks taken short, Oscar?
I understand the criticisms, I really do. The amount of times that we see something that looks like that. We'll pause that thought just for the moment, because Box Hill have won the ball back high up again. The press causing some real trouble for Preston in the opening minutes. Here's Pollicina on the turn, flashes across goal. That's the best look at goal alongside the early chance for Chiara Bocelli that Box Hill have generated in the first 10 minutes. But to answer your question, but I do think that when the short corner kick works, you can have a higher percentage look at scoring because it's a bit more awkward to defend and the initial setup doesn't quite transfer so easily to the new angle that the ball's coming in. With that all being said, I do acknowledge that the amount of times that works out seems to be few and far between.
Well, I hate it. No, I'm neither here nor there. I mean, you can understand why they would want to try and do that Box Hill with the two technically adept players that they had there with Bocelli and Pollicina. I think Pollicina might have just been a bit disappointed with her attempted shot in the end.
Right. I think I like it in theory, and as you say, had Pollicina made the contact that you expect her to make and that you normally would, I think that would have had a better look at goal coming from it than just the corner itself. But that's the risk that you take when you take it short.
Pelly Wader out for Bocelli, and our team is providing the run down the left-hand side here. Rossi makes the run into the 18-yard box. Here's Bocelli. Pollicina. They certainly look like the team that's going to score first here. Box Hill United dominating the first 13 or so minutes. Oh, Bacallo, beautiful. Goes straight past Papaleo. Rifles it into the 18-yard box. And a swing and a miss from the American Sydney Maneric, who thought that she was playing baseball there. That's strike one. She's been a great player for Box Hill United this season. Playing as part of that back four. Scored 3 goals so far, the young lady from Clemson University. Ball up for grabs here in midfield. Who pounces first? Duffy. Freya Duffy, who I incorrectly referred to as Felicity in the reading of the team lineups. Apologies about that, folks. She's joined Preston in the mid-season transfer window from Bentley. I saw her for the first time on Wednesday night when I was having a look at that game back on replay later that night. And when she came on from the bench, I thought, wow, she looks like Georgia Henderson, the captain who's just left Preston. Here's Rossi, going at goal from the tightest of angles and the best part of 18 yards out. Fires it into the side netting. And Karina Rossi, who has come back to play for Box Hill. She's wrapped up her A-League season playing for Adelaide United, of course formerly Melbourne City, scorer of both of Box Hill's goals in the grand final last season and winning the medal, the best on ground.
And just to finish on Freya Duffy, I thought that she was quite good coming on for the second half. Of course, she and Yasmin Popovic both getting starts today, having come off the bench in midweek, and did provide a little bit more energy in the middle of the park, but a very different role that she's being asked to play this afternoon.
Here's Percy out on the right flank, unable to connect with Eve Harrington, who you rightly pointed out on the call midweek, Oscar. She's one of the mainstays now at Preston. She's been here for a while. So much change has happened around Eve Harrington. It's her 6th season here at Preston. How do you feel the loss of Georgia Henderson? And obviously she was the captain and a stalwart of this team in her own right. How do you think losing a player like that in the middle of a campaign might affect a side as Box Hill United are pressing forward here until the timely interception there from Yamada?
Yeah, look, I think the reality is that Preston were already going through a bit of a major transition period this season in any case. So, in a way, I don't think it makes a huge difference to what was a fairly unstable women's program this campaign in any case. So if you're going to lose your captain, now might be the time and do a complete reset. But of course, a number of those Preston players have headed over to Keilor Park, linking back up with Dan Foden, who's gone and taken up a role in their women's program.
Preston on the build here. Percy and Klaich working together, and the ball in behind here for Percy, who fires it at goal on her non-preferred left boot, but she was offside. Segovic still had to make a decent save. She wasn't to know that the flag was raised. Yeah, I wonder if some of those mid-season signings for Keilor Park might thrust them up the table. They've been struggling a little bit, but that win yesterday over Bulleen, by far their best victory of the season so far. As Matsumoto's interception here just needs some support. Lofts it in over the top. Valentine Percy gets there before the goalkeeper. Segovic gets in the way and then is able to deny A.B. Medwin, and it's tidied up in the end by the captain, Sophia Paliwoda, and by far the most promising thrust forward for the home side so far this afternoon.
Yes, an excellent goalkeeping there for Box Hill to avoid the danger. Keely Segovic jumping out of a penalty area and closing down the space, not once but twice. Now Matsumoto showing some ability to win the ball back high up the pitch. And Box Hill surviving a couple of heart and mouth moments. They've been by far the in-control team in the first 17 minutes of this one, but Preston just showing that they're more than capable of hurting in those transitional moments. Here's Chiara Bocelli for Box Hill. Cross inside towards Rossi, a vital intervention from Mizu Yamada. Of course, occupied a more centrally defensive role this campaign, having joined the Lions last season. Proven herself to be a versatile defensive option. Throw in hoping for Rossi, and indeed the last touch came off a Preston boot, so Box Hill will get another look at a corner delivery.
We might elaborate on this discussion after this corner kick, but they've had really great success with the Japanese-born players over the past couple of seasons, Preston. More on that in a moment.
Pollicina hoping that this corner routine will pan out a little bit more according to plan. It's deep into the box and all the way through and sent home by Muro Murakami. Waiting at the far post to beat just about every player congregated at the front post, and there was Maho Murakami ready to thunder it into the roof of the net. Well, they've looked the more likely team, Box Hill, and indeed they've got themselves that early goal that they probably deserve. And just as you were mentioning the impact of Japanese-born footballers on this competition, there was Maho Murakami to finish.
Well, it's her fourth goal of the season, and that is the epitome of a goal line tap-in, and that is the benefit of swinging a corner kick right into the well. That's why I'll live and die by that one, Oscar. So Box Hill United take the lead away from home, a goal that has felt like it's been in the loading bay for a little while. That's Box Hill United sweating on Preston. Rossi, Pollicina was offside. And I just want to go back just before that goal. Another really cheap corner conceded. Not the first time that they've done that already in this match, Preston. But you'd have to say the team that has had more of the possession and more of the adventures forward has rightfully taken the lead. And Murakami, as you mentioned, one of the many Japanese players thriving in this league. Fourth goal of the season from AC Nagano Pasiero ladies in Japan. 4 assists as well this season to go along with those 4 goals.
Well, as you mentioned, it's a pretty compelling advertisement for your direct corner preference. Particularly considering that just before we'd seen a very unsuccessful short corner routine, and then that time just thrown into the mixer by Rihanna Pollicina and the chaos that it caused ending up in the goal.
So the other Japanese players that have thrived at Preston, Miri Nishimura, of course, who scored many goals, and Mibei Tanaka, who I felt like that they've really missed not just those players, but those types of players this season. I feel like Valentine Percy has shouldered the burden of needing to score goals in the past couple of seasons. They've really had no shortage of goal scorers, not just Nishimura, formerly of Preston, and Tanaka as well, but Ali Lamont also, who's gone this season. Bocelli latches onto the football here, trying to get past Harrington, and indeed does so, and fires it right at the goalkeeper. And even though that did go straight at the one who wears the gloves, it was still a good save because it was hit with venom, as they like to say, and Horrison pulls it out of the clouds that cover the Geneseo Stadium here in Reservoir. First Sunday of winter. If you're watching at home on the NPL YouTube channel, it's not the coldest day, is it really, in Melbourne? I mean, cloud cover, but not a lot of wind, and the threat of rain about, but no rain as I speak to you now. Just a comfortable one for Oscar and I to wear our sweaters. And perfect conditions, really, for football. This is a ground that can get quite windy sometimes. You see the trees in all 4 corners of the ground swaying, but they are still today. Match week 16, heading into the back stretch of the season. And Box Hill United on the live table are in second spot. There's Rossi Her first touch immaculate. Policina the same. Bocelli. Dynamite front three for Pythagoras. Bocelli fires it straight into the legs of Eve Harrington. And the ball goes behind for a repeat. Box Hill United corner kick.
Well, there aren't many more reliable, solid fullback defenders in this competition over the last 3-4 years than Eva Harrington. And even she's been giving a rough old time by Chiara Bocelli. Looks so hard to read which way Bocelli's going to go, which foot she's going to favour at any given moment. And that's about as good a result as Harrington has had so far this afternoon, conceding the corner. This, of course, a repeat of where Box Hill got that opening goal. Policina to deliver again. This one's a little bit further away from the goal line, and Preston do send it away as soon as they get the opportunity. So Box Hill maybe just a slight reduction in the intensity of their play style just over the last couple of minutes, having got that opening goal and feeling as if this game is, as things stand, going the way that they had drawn it up, or that Koku Savaratnam had drawn it up. Now they resume their play from deep with their skipper, Sophia Paliwoda. Ball not quite trapped by Karina Rossi. That ball sent clear, asking a lot of Matsumoto, and indeed a Box Hill head gets there first. That was well managed by Bucalo, and that was certainly a last touch off Amelia Tartaglia. Referee doing well to identify as such. So the game gets a little bit trickier for Allen College and Preston. Now a goal behind, not able to just sit back, absorb and counter, but having some obligation when they do have the ball to create some opportunities and make life uncomfortable for Box Hill out of possession. Papaleo's throw finds Dragana Klajic. And Matsumoto's ball, there's Paliwoda. And now the goal scorer, Murakami. Preston, they have shown an ability to win the ball back high up a few times this afternoon, but this time Nina Bucalo weaved her way past a couple of opponents to alleviate the danger for Box Hill, at least momentarily. Well, I liked now Matsumoto's intent in the opening of this game. She's clearly willing to do the hard yards out of possession and press.
Goal in the 19th minute for Maho Murakami of Box Hill United separates these two. We've played 25 minutes at Jenna Steele Stadium. BT Connor reserve. Tartaglia looking for Rihanna Policina. This is the final game of match week 16. We'll get you across the other results that have happened across the weekend. It's been the weekend of 2-1 scorelines. 4 of the previous 6 matches have finished with that exact scoreline. Ball out of play on the near side, because Friday night we had Bentley getting their first win of the season, their first points of the season. Been a long time coming. 1-0 winners over Burundara. The Eagles, who started this season so well, but their form has just dipped a little over the past couple of months. Candela Ferreira-Bass, the captain, scoring the only goal in that match. Second week in a row that she's on the score sheet.
I do think that's an extraordinary result, Brent. I know that Bentley have made a few A-League recruits, and we saw, I think, 3 of them in that game on Friday night. But for a team with 0 points after 15 games, it's quite extraordinary to have beaten a Burundara team who, as you said, have been one of the really surprise packages of season 2026 thus far.
We mentioned Keilor Park's 1-0 win over Bulleen yesterday. Caitlin Carrick, the goal scorer there. Essendon Royals winning again. 2-1 winners over Spring Hills. Menerick is hemmed in here. Amy Medwin, who's been very quiet through the first 26 or so minutes here. Percy lays it off for Amy Medwin. Now you watch her take it up to the commentator here. Medwin running at the byline, and her would-be cross is deflected behind off the Box Hill United captain and behind for Preston's first corner kick of the afternoon. We'll get to those other results in just a moment as Alana Filipovic trots over to take this corner. Preston going in search of an equaliser. They're not a team that possess a lot of height. Preston, Valentine Percy, the height of a normal centre half. Eva Papaleo's got some height about her too. Freya Duffy. Let's see if someone can get on the end of this one. It's driven in low to the near post. It's turned away by Pearl Teen. Back in towards midfield, and Rossi finds her way onto the football here, and Box Hill United might be able to open up. Preston, Bocelli plays it long in towards the Seagulls. Policina gives chase, strikes from outside the area, and it disappears beyond the far post. And that is just typical of the threat that Box Hill United possess, even when they are defending a corner kick, and in an instant it turns into a Pythagoras attack.
Well, Rihanna Policina had a paddock into which she was running. Chiara Bocelli doing well to settle on the ball and execute the pass too, so that Policina got a clear shot away. Preston looking a little bit too open for me on that counter-attacking move.
Whoop.
As your sound effects indicating, Brett, just a little bit awkward, the playing out from Preston. There is, of course, as often is the case, that patch of grass in front of the goalkeeper that's the least comfortable to play on. Once again, now Matsumoto in that last counter-attacking move was doing the hard yards, tracking all the way back. Here's Yamada. Just goes for distance, and Box Hill will happily gobble that one up and restart their build-up play.
So Essendon beating Spring Hills 2-1. Avondale beating the Melbourne Victory Academy Girls 2-1. Alamein beating the Melbourne City Girls 2-1. And South Melbourne beating Heidelberg United 2-1. It's 1-0 in favour of the away side here in Reservoir at the just about the half-hour mark. Preston defending again, as they have been doing a lot in this first half. Papaleo just plays that one out. Of course, that's Eva Papaleo. Got a sister in the side, in the squad, I should say, as well this season. Adelia. Rossi. Oh, Bocelli, the dummy. Beautiful stuff. Policina, first time release here. Back to Policina. That would have been a beautiful Box Hill goal. But Policina, in this first half an hour, radar just been a bit off.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that the finishing touch hasn't quite been there for Rihanna Policina up to this point, or even if a lot of the build-up has been quite nice. I mean, this is a tough situation for Preston. We did see that one period of really two good looks at goal that they generated, one really nice transitional move, which ended in a shot that was narrowly dealt with by Box Hill, and then the win back from Matsumoto, which again created a good look. But other than that, they haven't looked especially likely to trouble Box Hill. You mentioned Amy Medwin has not had a big influence on this game. Pythagoras have, for the most part, been fairly comfortable in possession too, although that was a nice bit of pressing from Dragana Klajic. Happy to send it back to the goalkeeper, is another one of the A-League returnees for Box Hill, Laura Pickett. Of course, a long-time association with this club now, Pickett. Here's Murakami, spreading it out with the outside of the boot pass to Bukalo. Oh. And Bukalo's cross thunders into what looked like the head of Misa Yamada, but she's a tough cookie and indeed looked unfazed by the whole thing.
Throw in here for Box Hill United, adjacent to the penalty area. Bukalo. Murakami trying to keep the attack alive here. Oh, it was an awkward touch there from Filipovic. Goalkeeper comes to take, and no way that could have been called a deliberate back pass. Medwin giving chase here. Manerick, who would have to be just about the quickest Box Hill United player. She is rapid, Sydney Manerick. Wins that foot race. Eva Harrington. Back with Sydney Manerick. Of course, Preston have also signed Sian Dewey from Adelaide United. We don't have her in the squad this afternoon, but I'm sure it won't be too long before we see her pulling on the red shirt of Preston. And a name that we haven't mentioned just yet for Pythagoras, Sophia Sakalis, who's a superstar in this league and has made a lot of A-League women's appearances. She's also going to be playing for Box Hill in the back half of the season as Bocelli skips her way past a couple of defenders. A challenge there from Harrington. Policina's happy to watch that one trickle behind. And another Box Hill United corner kick.
Should mention for Preston as well, Fiorina Iaria has also made her way back to NPLW Victoria. So there are more names to come from both teams, which is fairly exciting when you head into the final couple months of the campaign, as we see a repeat of this corner routine from that far flag. Once again, the players all crowding around Charlotte Horrison, who does well to get clear and get a punch on it. There's a swing and a miss just inside the area. Still the chance is alive for Box Hill. Minarik swung at it with the left, and eventually Matsumoto gets a little bit of distance. So Preston, not the most convincing dealing with that most recent corner routine, but doing enough. Box Hill, you'd think, would be really intent on having more than just the one goal advantage from this first half, just considering how much control they've had in the game and the chances they've been able to generate. Whereas for Preston, if they can get to the break still level, still just the one goal behind, maybe just a little bit of the anxiety builds for their visitors, feeling like maybe they ought to have put this game away. It may well end up being the Lions' best thread back into this game. Here's Percy. Run being made by Medwin. The ball forward, though, had a little bit too much on it. And the goalkeeper was filled with composure, as she was very happy to let the ball roll all the way back into her gloves, even as Amy Medwin was bearing down.
Well, coming into the match, they'd scored 40 goals this season, Box Hill United, second in the Senol NPLW behind Essendon Royals. You mentioned their troubles, or relative troubles, away from Wembley Park. As Bocelli does not win a throw-in for Box Hill United, going Preston's way. They'd scored 12 goals in their 5 away games prior to this afternoon, and you might think, oh, well, that's pretty good, better than 2 a game. You consider that 8 of those 12 goals come in that one demolition of Bentley earlier this season. So goals haven't been coming as thick and fast away from Wembley as they have at home, where they have destroyed some teams so far this season. I remember I think it was the match that doubled as the Community Shield against Heidelberg United, where they killed the Burgers. They won that game 4-0, and that was before the A-League players come back to play. Heidelberg United have probably improved slightly since then. Filipovic's first-time ball. Percy brings it down, back for Filipovic. Something promising building here potentially for Preston. It comes back to Valentine Percy, strikes from distance. And it was a difficult one for Segovic. It was dipping just before it reached her. Happy to preserve this clean sheet, at least into half-time, Pythagoras, and preserve the 1-0 lead and take stock as they munch on their half-time oranges.
I can understand Percy deciding to take this shot. It's been hard graft as a Preston forward in this first half thus far. Spending a lot of time doing defensive work as opposed to really getting high-quality looks at goal.
She's the one that's taken over the captain's armband after Georgia Henderson departed.
Preston now once again looking to construct their way out of the Box Hill press. Yamada hoping to send it into the path of Medwin, but that was well managed by Tartaglia.
Just on Valentine Percy, 6 goals this season, 5 of them in the league, including a brace against Spring Hills match week 5, 5 assists as well.
It was well managed by Duffy to find Popovic. Had to wriggle away out of a tight space. Now we'll get another crack at it. Freya Duffy did enough with the pressure on Murakami to win her team a throw. They are hoping for Matsumoto, but instead it's thumped clear by Pickett. And Preston, I think, will be relieved to maybe spend a little bit more time with the ball at their feet. That ball into the path of Filipovic. And well, who else but Chiara Bocelli to navigate her way out of a tight squeeze and win the free kick for Box Hill.
Just noticed that Amy Medwin has now popped up on the left-hand side, which I believe is where she started in the Wednesday night cup game against FC Clifton Hill. Of course, Medwin was the goal scorer for Preston. Went behind early and only took about 5 minutes to find the equaliser. Bocelli going past Harrington again. Bocelli rolls it into the 18-yard box. Murakami, oh. Well, it looked like the net was destined to ripple. And just tried to side foot that one into the bottom right-hand corner. It just curves away from goal.
Well, I totally agree, Brent. I thought for sure that was goal-bound. Chiara Bocelli, yet again, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better tee-up delivery than that one. It was just begging to be thundered into the back of the net, but Murakami, I think, just leaning back a little bit too much on the strike, which is why she caught it a bit late and it ultimately veered away from the target.
But just a sensational cross there from Bocelli. So composed, wasn't it? Didn't try to fire it in. Medwin lofts it over the top. Percy giving chase. Does she go herself again here? No, she tees it up for Klajic, who is able to cross it in. Percy is there. Misses her. Misses Segovic as well. Percy was straying into an offside position. But they're just showing enough, Preston. They're just showing enough to suggest that they have a goal in their locker today. They'd love to be able to find one before half-time. We've just played 39 minutes here at BT Connor Reserve. Box Hill United 1, Preston Lions 0. Maho Murakami, the goal scorer, in the 19th minute. A goal line tap-in from a Rihanna Policina corner kick.
Here's Bucalo for Box Hill. Has the underlapping run made by Teen. Teen with the sliding pass. It could work out still for Box Hill. Oh, Chiara Bocelli had to wait. Policina for the finish off the post and out. Well, Box Hill, they couldn't have come any closer to a second. It was a goal-mouth scramble for Preston, and somehow, some way, the scoreline remains 1-0.
Well, that is unbelievable. The scrambling Rahorison went to ground, recovered. And then well done Yamada there to just keep her bearing and actually come off the frame of the goal and then along the goal line. And how many times in that situation do we see the player not be able to react in time and it takes a wicked deflection and goes into their own net? Somehow, Box Hill United have been denied their second goal.
Yeah, very much agree with the credit to Yamada. That's a really awkward position to be in as a defender, so to just cushion the ball and redirect it away from goal. Really important there for Preston as they head into the final 5 minutes of this first 45. Still in touching distance, but you get the sense that Box Hill are unlikely to relent any time before half-time.
Bocelli, how good has she been in this first half? Policina, well, she is quick, Policina, but she doesn't have elite pace. Of course, a three-time A-League Women's Team of the Year member. Has played on both sides of the battle lines here in Melbourne for Victory and City. Who'd have your vote for best on ground in this first half, Oscar? I reckon I'm ready to give mine to Chiara Bocelli.
I was thinking the same, Brent. She's been irresistible at times in this half.
Yamada in defensive duties again. And a second time. Being probably close to Preston's best player in the first half, Mizuho Yamada. Ball ricochets out of bounds. So, as I mentioned, Box Hill United in second position on the live table. They can't go into first position today. If they get the 3 points today, they'll go to 34 points. Essendon Royals are on top on 35. Box Hill are on the build again. Here is Chiara Bocelli. Eva Harrington has had a tough first half. Paliwoda actually played up in the midfield last Friday night against Bentley. Back into the Pythagoras back four this afternoon, alongside Laura Pickett, Maneric, Bocelli. Pythagoras plotting their second goal and to double the lead at half-time. Bocelli and Harrington, a wild swing there from Eva Harrington. Come off her last. And another Box Hill United corner kick as we just creep our way towards the intermission.
I think the movement of a bit of Maneric and Paliwoda, where Kogas-Avaratnam's trying to find out his ideal combination of players and positions, whilst also incorporating Laura Pickett amongst others into the Box Hill defensive line. Still a number of months to work out the full fit and firing Box Hill formation. For now, hoping to double their advantage in the few minutes before the end of the first half. Policina to deliver once more, right onto the head of the goalkeeper. It's somehow scrambled clear. It looked for a moment as if it was heading right into the back of the net, but Preston do just enough to get it clear. Now Policina and Paliwoda happy to wait for their team to get set back up for another surge forward. Pickett and Paliwoda once more. This time ball taken short to Maneric, and now Peltine hoping to scrap her way through, but there's a chance here on the counter for Preston. There's space on that right flank if Valentine Percy can make use of it. And indeed, Dragana Klajic latching onto that one, but the space being closed down was forced to resort to the speculative attempt first time. And the Box Hill backline will continue to take that all afternoon and deal with any further Preston threats of that nature.
Just a couple of times in this first half they've struggled to get enough numbers into their attacking situations, Preston. But still, it's Box Hill United leading by that one goal. I reckon they've had a small cluster of opportunities, Box Hill, where the ball's gone right to the line, the goal line, but not over.
It's funny you say the chances for Preston. You wonder if there's just not enough pace up top for a team that's relying so heavily on counter-attacking. I mean, Amy Medwin's quick, but you wouldn't say that's the main strength of Valentine Percy or Dragana Klajic.
Duffy's first touch had to be assured, and then a clearing pass was picked up in midfield by Policina. Tartaglia. Well, one thing that really struck me in that match on Wednesday night was the speed that Clifton Hill had in their attack, and it really made the back four of Preston look like they were standing still at times as Maneric attempted cross at pinballs around. Another clearance for Yamada. Harrington, Klajic, just misses the turning Valentine Percy. And Box Hill back in position as Lana Georgiev tells us that we have 1 minute to add on to the first half here. The first half that has been, well, I want to say dominated, just about dominated by Box Hill United. Preston have had 2 or 3 flurries forward, enough to keep them interested, and they'll be feeling pretty good going into half-time if they are only 1 goal down. They'll be feeling maybe like they probably should have been perhaps 2 or 3. Box Hill United will certainly be feeling that way. It's Peltine. Back for Sydney Maneric. Murakami, the scorer of the one and only goal so far. Percy intercepts. And one last push forward here for the home side. Percy trying to play it through the tight gaps in the Box Hill back forward. Actually ricocheted off the back of Amy Medwin. Harrington's chasing that one. And she can just keep on running down the race and into the change rooms. That will be half-time here at Jenna Steele Stadium. Box Hill United have their eyes on second spot on the table. And halfway through this match, looks like they are well on their way. Preston will go into the change rooms at half-time and try and devise a plan back into this match. Only 1 goal adrift at the intermission. Maho Murakami's goal line tap in from a corner in the 19th minute separates the two sides at the major break. Brent Sternberg and Oscar Rutherford here with you. Match week 16 in the Senol NPLW Victoria. Live on the NPL Victoria YouTube channel at half-time. It is Preston Lions 0, Box Hill United 1. Welcome back to Jenna Steele Stadium, everybody. Final match of match week 16 in the Senol NPLW Victoria. We're ready to go for the second half. Box Hill United leading Preston 1-0. Don't believe there's any changes to tell you about at half-time. Brent Sternberg and Oscar Rutherford here with you. Maho Murakami's goal in the 19th minute has Box Hill United in front. And that is the lead that they will protect in this second half. What are your thoughts, Oscar, as we venture into this second 45?
We're really interested to see how Preston approach this game. I think first and foremost, we know what Box Hill will probably try to do, and that will probably remain the same, even with the one goal to defend. But to see if Preston are maybe going to make a more concerted effort to spend more time in possession and how they go about that, I think will be interesting to see, because I mean, a repeat of that first half, it's possible that Preston can nab a goal on the counter, as we saw they weren't. It didn't look like it was impossible for them to score. But equally, you would have said if any team were to have the second or third goal, it probably would have been Box Hill. So they'll need a change in how the game's playing out, Preston, but that's going to be far from a straightforward task against this Box Hill outfit.
Rolling forward here is Laura Pickett. Are you surprised that Preston didn't make a change at half-time?
I mean, if we look at their bench and who they can turn to, it's not a whole lot of super experienced quality attackers that they have available to them. Of course, Bella Tribbiano played in midweek, and she'll probably be introduced at some point in this second half. But really, the 11 that they've got on the pitch probably as good a chance as any in the matchday squad to bring Preston back level in this game.
Box Hill United, who would have had close to their season average 60% possession in that first half. Spicalo on the right wing for Pythagoras. Attracts two in red shirts. Oh, just able to keep that pass in the field of play for Tartaglia. 4 shots, 1 goal in the first half for Preston. 4 on target, if the half-time stats are to be believed. Box Hill with 10 shots of their own, 3 of them on target. Murakami, deflection here, falls for Bocelli. Rossi from outside of the area. Wasn't able to find the angle there. Making the save down low. Charlotte Rahorison. And did have the frame of her goal rattled at one stage in that first half. Only the 1 goal that they scored in the opening 45 Box Hill, but they come very close to finding a second and even potentially a third. Sydney Maneric just apologising to the 4th official down there, Lana Georgiev. Here's Valentine Percy. This one will stay alive for Medwin, who has started the second half on the right wing. And it's not her best cross into the penalty area, and jumping on the ball and diffusing the situation, Keely Segovic, looking to try and keep what would be her 6th clean sheet of the season if they are to hold out this Preston attack in the second half. Oi, down goes our referee Ben Howell. It's slippery out there, folks. Here's Chiara Bocelli. Just about best on in the first half. Policina maybe second best, trying to go in and around Eva Harrington. And Policina gets past her now, and past a second, brought down in the area by Freya Duffy, and referee Ben Howell waves her on to get up and play on.
Well, we'll take a look at the replay when we get the chance. Not a whole lot of protest from Box Hill, which indicates that it was a great call from our referee. He was full of conviction in making that. Well, it's hard to tell. We are a long way away. It does look as if there might well have been some contact, or at least blocking some of Rihanna Policina's run. But we'll defer to our referee, who was much closer and would have got a much better view of how that contact, if there was any, came about. And in any case, Box Hill, they'll be thinking that they'll generate plenty more opportunities of that ilk. Here is Chiara Bocelli, resuming her battle with Harrington, who gets the better of that one. So that'll be a nice confidence booster for the Preston fullback. Box Hill, for all the possession and the chances that they did create, maybe will be hoping for some higher quality finished product, particularly when you consider their mid-season recruits, Rihanna Policina and Karina Rossi. Policina we've seen a lot of, but hasn't always had the finishing touch that we're used to seeing from her, and Karina Rossi maybe will see a little bit more involvement from the Box Hill number 9 in this second 45, but they do look like players just settling back into an environment that, well, they thrived in last campaign, of course. Here's Yamada stepping out of the defensive line and uses the left flank with Papaleo, who asks a lot of Dragana Klajic. I've got to say, Brent, I'm still not convinced by the personnel selection by way of front three. If you're going to play a game so reliant on transitional football, to have players... I mean, Dragana Klajic has played her best football in the middle of the park in central midfield. She's not a renowned pacey winger or anything like that. So it's difficult... It's difficult for Preston to create good looks, really, when the players being asked to play roles that they're not most or best equipped to do.
It's Chiara Bocelli carrying the ball forward for Box Hill United. Rossi, so good with those first-time passes. That one deflects and ends up back with Bocelli. Teen. You mentioned that they don't have a lot of attacking options waiting to come off the bench, Preston. The same cannot be said about Box Hill United. Erin Keats and Yuri Kawano are on the bench. 18 goals between them this season. So plenty of firepower, gunpowder still to come potentially off the bench. They've got a couple of their youngsters as well in Sarah Petkaris and Victoria Zikas. Holly Murray on the bench as well for Box Hill. She's more of a defensive-minded player, another A-leaguer.
It's a bit unfair when you can replace Kawano and Kate with Rossi and Pollicina. Really is one of the most fearsome attacks going around in Victorian football that Box Hill have put together, not just in their starting 11, but in the squad. Here's a chance here for Amy Medwin. Through on goal, seemingly from nowhere. Amy Medwin to bring Preston level.
Oh.
The shot's wide. She maybe ran herself into too tight of a corner and ultimately would have required a spectacular finish from there. I think had the space and time and the pace to go a little bit more central and create a more favourable look, Amy Medwin.
Head up, keep going.
It definitely did, even though that's where the Box Hill defenders were. But, well, a really good look for Preston and a positive sign, which suggests that the chances on the counter if Box Hill do slip up and cough up the ball in an area like that could well still come.
Just mulled over the shot for a moment too long, as you called there, Oscar. But it's Amy Medwin's first moment of the match was inconspicuous in the first 45. Beautifully timed run it was. And the long ball from Alana Filipovic to find her. Rossi on the turn, threading one through, I should say. Bocelli unable to get there, away by Rahorison. Rossi again, wave after wave. Pollicina lofting it in, looking for Rossi. Those two playing the two-person game there. Mizuho Yamada clears. Haven't lost this season when leading at half-time, Box Hill United. Beautiful play again between Rossi and Pollicina. Denied only by the offside flag. It's the 12th time in their 16 games that they have led at half-time. So one thing that they have done this season, Box Hill, is score and score early. And they've been able to protect those leads. They've only surrendered one lead this season. That was earlier on against Burundara. They went up one goal and went on to concede the next two goals of the match. Game earlier this season at the Veneto club, Burundara winning 2-1. But the great thing about, we're talking about the players they've got on the bench. To win a championship in any league, you have to have depth, and that's what they were able to recruit in the second half of last season, and they've certainly got that again here in season 2026. As another long ball forward, recruiting the runners in Pythagoras Blue. Harrington not taking any chances. Murakami challenged by Percy. Maneric and Bocelli not on the same page there. It's a hopeless long ball forward there from Preston. Box Hill back in possession, and around we go again. Tartaglia, Bacallo. Good work there by Eva Papaleo, who wins the throw-in.
Preston once more, hoping to spring forward here. Once more, Medwin does have some space down this right flank, and a little bit more than we saw in that first half. This time passes it through to her captain in Percy. Percy with the shot, and she ultimately snatches at a little, and it ends up well wide of the post. But another decent look for Preston, and just a little bit of agitation on the Box Hill bench as well, just from the fact that their hosts are doing a little bit of a better job at exploiting some of the space in behind. Second goal for Box Hill would be a greatly prized outcome at this stage. Here's Burchelli hoping to create it. Gets around Harrington, but not Popovic. Popovic looking central. Box Hill quickly regained possession. Policina making the run. Rossi says, "I'll go myself." Pulls the trigger with the right, and that one deflecting off Mizuho Yamada and behind for a Box Hill corner.
They had a collection of corner kicks in the first half. Some were better than others. Of course, the one goal that they have scored did come from a set-piece corner kick situation. Maho Murakami with their name on the score sheet. She's the one that's going to trot over and deliver this set piece here for Box Hill United. All hands to the pump here for Preston. If they concede a second, there might be no way back into the game. Wow, that is a disappointing delivery from one of their most technically adept players, Box Hill United, and that is just a huge let-off for Preston.
Maho Murakami going back to just stamp on the part of the turf where the ball was delivered from, maybe trying to level it out. If I delivered that corner, I'd probably be doing the same.
Always blame, I think they call that the turf monster. Coming into play there, Popovic.
Who calls it that?
No, that is an American. That's an American term, Oscar. Medwin. Preston have looked better in this second half going forward. They've already had a couple of half chances. They really only had that same number in the first half. Bacallo retreating. Back for Mizuho Yamada. All the way back for the goalkeeper, Charlotte Rahorison. Bad turnover there and long-range attempt from Murakami. Will she blame the turf monster again there?
Charlotte Rahorison was a long way off her line, and that's why Murakami decided to pull the trigger, but ultimately well off target. And it does look as if Box Hill are readying a couple of substitutions. So you'd imagine just on the hour mark, we might see some reinforcements brought in by Kogu Sabaratnam, potentially Aaron Cade or Yuri Kawano, Holly Murray as well, one of the other A-League women's recruits. That ball headed down and picked up by Rossi for Box Hill. Manufactures a little bit of space. Policina on the turn. This time the referee points to the spot. And Rihanna Policina, so hard to keep tabs on her for long, and indeed the first touch just enough to lure in her opposition defender. Credit as well to Karina Rossi for the play in the build-up. And the first touch just taking it away from, I think it was Yasmin Popovic who ultimately committed the foul, and Box Hill with a chance to go a long way to sealing the 3 points this afternoon.
Oh, that's where those exquisite skills in tight can really trouble players. You know, Popovic wouldn't be used to defending a player in this league that is so adept.
It's Maho Murakami. She's got a brace at BT Connor Reserve. Maho Murakami makes it Box Hill 2, Preston 0. And from the spot, she made no mistake, sends the goalkeeper the wrong way. And with an hour gone in this game, just about, things going very much according to script for Pythagoras.
We'll have a couple of changes here. We are going to see Erin Keats and Holly Murray injected into the match. We're going to have Nicolina Bacallo and Pearl Teen removed. How about that? Box Hill United double their lead 2-0, and they bring on a player in Aaron Keat who scored 12 goals this season. An embarrassment of Pythagoras riches. The question now is, do Preston have 2 goals in them to get a result here this afternoon? They're only going to have half an hour to do so.
Well, we were debating whether they've got 1, Brent, so it feels like an almighty mountain to climb. Just one more point on the penalty that Rihanna Pollicina, of course, famous for a futsal background as well.
Box Hill United, Pollicina, oh dear. Box Hill jump on the Preston error, and just seconds after they doubled their lead, they have now taken a commanding, unassailable, you'd have to say, 3-0 lead at Geneseo Stadium. Rihanna Pollicina, who earned the penalty, now has her goal, and it's getting very late and very dark for Preston. Preston 0, Box Hill United 3.
As you mentioned, Brent, 2-0 looked like a big ask. 3-0 looks just about impossible. A disaster at the back for Preston Lions, giving the ball away like that. And Rihanna Pollicina, well, there's hardly a worse player to have on the ball in that position if you're Preston. And she made no mistake with that beautifully weighted shot.
Oh, from the restart, Amy Medwin has drawn a fabulous save out of Keely Segovic. Had no option there other than to just claw at it and turn it around the far post and behind for a Preston corner kick. And they would have preferred to have built something like that from the previous kickoff.
It's a bit of a strange one, wasn't it? It wasn't really thundered towards the top corner. It was more floated up towards that area of the goal. So well done by the goalkeeper.
This is a lifeline for Preston back into the game, in towards the near post. Percy trying to bring it down. Steered away by Pickett. Here is Pollicina and Rossi. Back with Filipovic, who loses out. Pollicina, early release. Baccelli just trying to feather it through for Aaron Keat, who can't get past Eva Papaleo. Oh, it's a foul. And more than that, it's a yellow card for the young Preston left back. And Aaron Keat's first introduction into the game wins a set-piece situation here for Box Hill in a threatening position. I didn't think there was much in that, to be honest with you, Oscar.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm surprised too. It looked as if it was a case of the bigger, taller player just out-muscling her smaller foe who went down a little bit easy, but clearly the referee saw something that we didn't. The arm did go outstretched, and maybe that was a bit of a trigger for the referee to blow the whistle. But it does mean Box Hill have themselves a very good look to make it 3 goals in, 5 minutes or so?
First player booked in the match, Eva Papaleo. Pollicina and Paliwoda stand over the dead ball. You'd have to think that Pollicina will be thinking about a direct effort here. Paliwoda tees it up for Pollicina. Oh, very strange decision there from Box Hill, and perhaps Preston can pounce here. Well done there by Paliwoda. And, well, once again, interesting tactics from the set piece there, and Preston dodge a bullet. Not because of their own defending, but the tactics of the opposition. Something that they've tried to pull off the training ground there, Box Hill United, and maybe they need to take it back to the training ground and work on it a little further.
Yeah, it might belong there. I mean, we had the discussion about the short corner kick. I'm really not sure what the idea was there. Maybe Paliwoda was supposed to roll it a little bit more into Pollicina's path, and you could understand a little bit more there, hitting the moving ball and being able to run into it, Rihanna Pollicina, but that very much not going, we can only assume, according to plan for Box Hill. Does present Preston with a bit of an opportunity to spring forward. They've really got to throw everything at this game now.
It almost had that look that Pollicina actually wasn't expecting Paliwoda to do that.
I mean, it makes sense for Pollicina to be the one to take the shot. You know, there aren't many better in this competition at a dead ball situation than Rihanna Pollicina. But that one will not be making the highlight reel for this season.
Just that, the way that they work that and set it up, though, unnecessary. I mean, it's a free kick situation. Pollicina can just hit it from the dead spot. You know, you don't need, it's not like an indirect free kick inside the 18-yard box where a player has to make the touch first. And of course, the moment it does get touched by that Paliwoda initial effort, as the ball's into the penalty area here, half-hearted shouts for a handball by the Preston players. No call forthcoming. When Paliwoda makes that touch, the Preston players can then advance, and that puts pressure on Pollicina, which makes the incoming shot even more difficult than what a shot, up and over the wall would be in the first instance.
I guess in any case, if you're Rihanna Pollicina, having just won a penalty and then scored, probably feel entitled to get a bit experimental with how you look to score Box Hill's fourth. But Pythagoras right now, they are in firm control of this game. 3-0 to the good, and looking very likely to jump up into second. They've coughed up possession here, though, and Amy Medwin is once more charged with the counter-attacking responsibility. Fired across goal, well saved by Keely Segicic. And there is Rihanna Pollicina tracking back and doing her defensive work as well. Murakami's in the middle, so is Erin Keat, and there's the overlapping run made by Chiara Bercelli. Bercelli has a couple of options inside, or she can go herself. Ultimately adopts the patient approach to Sydney Minarik. Just awaiting more numbers for Box Hill, and Pollicina putting the head down to get to this one. Sends the cross in, and Charlotte Horrison just ahead of Maho Murakami, who's looking for a hat-trick for what it's worth, but Preston goalkeeper, strong claim at her near post.
And Box Hill United, who are also still looking to try and repair their goal difference after that dreadful performance at the Cross Keys a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when they lost 7-1. Teams at the top of the table so tight, so goal difference may play a part as Medwin swings it into the 18-yard box, and once again Keely Segovic is able to jump on it. Out for Tartaglia. This is a Preston team, as we keep telling you, that played 90 minutes midweek, and a lot of these, they only made 3 changes, so a lot of these players that are out there for Preston, you imagine, will start to tire. Murakami, as Oscar mentioned, on a hat-trick now. Tartaglia can't get that one to Rossi, and in fact, the last touch was off her, so a throw in. Preston are now going to make a triple change. Olivia Edwards is coming on, as is Isabella Tribbiano and the number 23, Victoria Momorovsky. And Box Hill are also making a double change. Chiara Bercelli's afternoon is finished. Yuri Kawano coming on.
Sarah Pekaris as well.
We've also seen Dragana Klajic come off for Preston. So we had 5 changes there happen, which has left Oscar and I scrambling. 3 for Preston, 2 for Box Hill.
I think the 3 off for Preston are Duffy, Filipovic and Klajic, replaced by Momorovsky, Tribbiano and Edwards. Also, as mentioned, Petkaris and Kawano on for Box Hill.
So Box Hill rotating their squad, and Preston doing the same, trying to stay as fresh as they can. Preston will have the week off next week. Box Hill United will play their cup match against the Melbourne City Academy. They'll be favourites to win that game and advance to the quarterfinals. Of course, we've got 2 cup matches coming midweek. Tuesday nights, Bentley Greens at home against Beaumaris, and then not Wednesday night but Thursday night we will have Keilor Park and South Melbourne. Here's Rihanna Pollicina. Just see the dust get kicked up as she scuffed the ground a little bit on that shot, and that cost her being able to make premium contact. The quarterfinals in the Cup taking shape, Oscar. Of course, all the matches from here on out you'll be able to watch on the Football Victoria YouTube page. It's Holly Murray working doggedly, and Sydney Manerick Of course, we've got most of the NPLW teams advancing, but Clifton Hill from the VPLW into the quarterfinals as well. Congratulations, everybody at that particular football club. A nice bit of skill there from Petkaris, but can't get past Yasmin Popovic.
Very nearly saw another cup set, didn't we, with Eltham Redbacks pushing the Royals all the way.
Yeah, all the way to extra time that match. The Royals scoring 3 goals in the extra time period.
Chance here for Sarah Petkaris to get involved with a delivery inside, but it's quickly dealt with by Preston. Should mention, even within the NPLW teams remaining in the Nike Cup, that Keilor Park tie for South Melbourne all of a sudden looking a lot more challenging than it did a couple of weeks ago.
Got a problem here for Sarah Petkaris. It looks like she might be in a little bit of grief here. Box Hill Physio races out to tend to her, as does Policina and Sydney Menerick. She has had her injury problems over the years. Sarah Petkaris, 17-year-old, Box Hill junior since 2021, come over from Monash City. She's one of the players that has suffered the dreaded ACL injury. She's tried to get up a couple of times and hasn't been able to do so, as both teams come into their huddles, and they'll treat this like a timeout. Sarah Petkaris, who's only just come onto the pitch.
Yeah, not something you like to see at all for still a very young player. Looking at the Box Hill substitutes, I believe Victoria Zeke is still the outfielder remaining to be used, so being run through her paces if indeed she does need to come on and replace Sarah Petkaris, who is walking off under her own head of steam.
Well, she's barely been on for 5 minutes, but it is a good sign that she's able to walk off, and she is being pulled from the game, Sarah Petkaris, so she's shaking the hands with the coaching staff there. She does have a wry smile on her face. I think she's a little bit embarrassed by what has played out there.
Bit of a Grandpa Simpson's afternoon's work.
Play is back underway. Victoria Zikas looks like she's going to get her chance. Preston 0, Box Hill United 3. It's Policina finds Amy Medwin, chesting it down, and then a rifling left foot shot driven low. And Kelly Segovic still desperate to keep that clean sheet intact. She's been really good down low today, Kelly Segovic. Certainly hasn't been beaten or even surprised by those low efforts. Good pressing there from Preston. Menerick should be able to carry Pythagoras forward.
It's interesting with the A-League players coming back to the NPL. I mean, we've seen Rihanna Policina get better in this second half with the end product, having already been heavily involved in the first 45, and you'd say the same for Karina Rossi and Amy Medwin. They've all had better second halves, I'd say, than their first, because they have, of course, just played a full season of A-League women's football, but there does still seem to be an adjustment period. You've had a few weeks, maybe, where you haven't been part of that week in, week out grind that they do for most of the year. So maybe just takes a game or two just to really get themselves back into that playing rhythm that we're used to seeing them in. And maybe even within this game we've seen a little bit of how that growth can happen and the players can start to contribute more, because we've seen Amy Medwin has been far more influential in this second 45. Still hasn't had the finishing touch that we've maybe come to expect from her, but as we saw in the Cup in midweek, just has these flashes of brilliance where you can really see what she can do, and if she can pull it all together, will make Preston a much more dangerous attacking threat. For now, though, the Lions have more defending to do, as that cross in was destined for Sydney Menarick, but for the intervention of Yamada, and Valentine Percy getting back to help out the defence and winning the foul.
Yeah, the players who come back to play in the Senol NPLW from the A-League, they've got to love their football, don't they? I mean, they've had two weeks off, if that. Here is that change. Box Hill United just played those last couple of minutes with 10 players, so Victoria Zikas comes on to replace Sarah Petkaris, who was a substitute herself. Sarah only lasted about 5 minutes, if that, before coming up a cropper and being taken out. Here's Tribbiano They're behind for Medwin, who's had a better second half. Across comes Laura Pickett. Medwin's able to manufacture a cross. The lunging Kawano, Murray, Tribbiano. Murray comes out of the mire there with the ball. Zikas for Erin Keat. Can she add to her goal tally on the season late here at Jenna Steele Stadium? 12 goals already this season, including a hat-trick earlier on in that big win over Bentley, earlier on in the season, I should say, match week 2. She only played the first half of that match, Erin. Scored 3 goals. Those teams that have advanced to the quarterfinals in the Cup: Bulleen, Essendon Royals, Alamein, Heidelberg United and Clifton Hill. Preston from the turnover. Percy, Yamada's able to bring it down, and then her shot is blocked, and then Matsumoto's shot also blocked and deflected. Murray helps it on. That one's going to bounce away from Victoria Zikas. So still 3 spots up for grabs in the quarterfinals as Preston swing another change here. Ellen Gaudry coming on to replace Amy Medwin. She'll have better performances as we head down the stretch in the second half of the season. Amy, she probably was better midweek in the Cup here at home. Had a couple of moments in the second half. Harrington are able to keep that ball alive. So 3 more spots up for grabs in the quarterfinals, which will be decided midweek, and then the final spot will be up for grabs next Saturday afternoon when Box Hill travel to Casey Fields to take on the Melbourne City Academy girls. I reckon you got the Essendon Royals, who are firming as maybe the Cup favourites, Oscar, who have really come into some nice form in the last 5 or 6 weeks or so. But we have a lot of heavy hitters still alive, don't we?
And of course, Cup football, you wonder how much squad depth becomes more of a factor. We've spoken about how much quality Box Hill have, not just in their starting 11, but on the bench today as well. And that, you could imagine, could play a factor in the Cup games to play out the season. And of course, the better resource clubs, your South Melbournes and your Heidelberg's potential as well, to dip into their, really high quality, deep squads to continue their respective runs. Here's Valentine Percy for Preston, looking to find her fullback in Harrington, but getting across was Minarik. Looking ahead for Preston next month of matches. They don't get a whole lot easier. Next 4 games away to Burundara before back here to take on Spring Hills, before being away to Alamein and at home to Bulleen. So a number of the teams right in the mix for finals football that Preston will come up against over the next 4 weeks.
And remembering, Oscar, that we're going to a top 6 this season in the finals format, so more opportunities for those teams in the middle parts of the table.
Well, some cracking games coming up for Box Hill. You mentioned their Cup game against Melbourne City before taking on the big 2 of Heidelberg and South Melbourne back-to-back away games. So that's going to be a really tough couple of fixtures for Box Hill, but a really good test for their new recruits and whether they can indeed replicate the performances of last season towards the end of this campaign.
And I'd love to be able to lift that trophy again, Box Hill. Of course, they had a lot of success in the Cup competition going back about 2 decades ago when they were the dominant force in women's football. They actually went out at the first hurdle last season, beaten by Alamein, Box Hill United. So, as I mentioned, they'll be favourites in that match against Melbourne City to go through to the quarters. But it's a draw full of landmines, with the top dogs still alive, including the 2 finalists last season. Of course, that thrilling final between Heidelberg United and South Melbourne that went to penalties. And Clifton Hill, who lurk as a dark horse, going great guns in the VPLW. It's Holly Murray's giving up ground here. Paliwoda, Murakami. Lovely ball out wide for a fellow Japanese midfielder, Kawano, and for Policina. Box Hill hunting a 4th. Policina, Minarik is there. Minarik was fouling Eva Papaleo who got horribly entangled on the edge of the 6-yard box, and Papaleo has just come off a little worse for wear here.
Yeah, it was really good defending from Papaleo to get her body in front of her opponent just in the nick of time, so that any attempt to get the ball would involve fouling the Preston Lions defender, even if she suffered the consequences of her bravery, Eva Papaleo.
19 years of age. This is her 8th appearance on the season, her 3rd start. She has been amongst the goal scorers this season. Eva Papaleo, 3 goals. Scored a couple in the Preston Cup victory over Manningham United.
Yeah, and a bright spark, I think, over the last month when it hasn't been the best season for Preston Lions. The breakthrough, in a sense, that she's had coming into senior first-team football, of course, coming across from Bulleen, where I think she made just the 1 senior appearance last season. So starting to establish herself in a team at this level, and you can see why, not just with the defensive work that she's done today, but going forward, she's got some attacking nous too. So where she ends up playing her future career and what will end up being her best position, we'll have to wait and see, but it's certainly something positive to look forward to for Preston.
Back up and running, which is good. I imagine she'll just come to this sideline here, where she can get the attention of the referee. Will be back into the fray. So Preston are going to go to 4 wins, 4 draws and 8 losses. They'll be stuck on 16 points, so they'll be, 12 points adrift of Alamein, who are occupying the 6th spot. Murakami full-blooded into the contest there on Percy. You heard the oohs and ahs of the crowd down below us. Percy's pass, trying to bend it in behind. Trebbiano was designed for her. Holly Murray blocks it. Do they have the look of a team to you, Oscar, Preston, that could maybe get into that finals mix this season and play a role? I mean, 12 points is a big gap to try and make up, I should say, with 10 games to come after today.
I mean, my answer to your question at this stage, Brent, is no. I don't think they look at all like a team who are likely to go jumping up the ladder, who've been really unfortunate not to get the results in the last few weeks. They've been comfortably outplayed on a number of occasions. So I don't think that's necessarily how it will pan out. We'll see when we hopefully get some more regular featuring A-League recruits, whether that will be an upward tick. There's a chance here for Sydney Minarik, who's through on goal. Charlotte Horrison made the decision to come off her line late, but did just enough to put off the Box Hill forward to send the shot wide. Yeah, I don't know about you, Brent, but for me, Preston, well, they've got a long... The gap to bridge is not just in points, it's in quality of play and how they're performing on a week-to-week basis, because at the moment, I think Preston's ladder position is probably a reasonably fair reflection of their performances, even if it is worth acknowledging that they did draw a number of games in the first half of the season where they were certainly competitive with their opponents and maybe could have nicked a couple more wins and things would have looked a little bit more favourable. But I think we've seen the limitations to what Preston have offered even just in the couple of games this week that they've played.
Yeah, it's a 12-point gap to make up on paper, isn't it? But in reality, it's going to be really difficult. Remembering that this is a Preston team this year that are giving younger players a go and playing under a first-year coach as well who's come to join the club. So maybe there was always going to be a season of just finding out what they've got in a lot of these young girls, and some of the young girls who have been given a go who are first-year players. So, finding out what they are like Papaleo, who you mentioned, has come over from Bulleen.
Yeah, it's absolutely worth pointing out that it is a transitional year for Preston when there has been so little consistency and predictability compared to their first few seasons back in the top flight of women's football, and change of coach, change of really the core personnel that achieved those successes in the NPLW Grand Final, the Nike Cup Final, those kinds of things. So it's not a huge surprise to see a bit of a come down from that. Just really interested to see how they approach next campaign and whether this is their level going forward or whether they'll start to climb their way back up and really competing for major honours again.
And the main point is that's where we expect Preston to be, because we know that they are an ambitious football club. not just with the men's and all the great success that they're having, but with the women as well. They come back up into the top division in 2024 and played in the grand final, and were in the cup final as well. So that's where they expect to be, as they're on the march here. Matsumoto has been a little bit quiet in this second half. Harrington's going to get onto this ball. It was touched by the defender. Segovic comes out to jump on the ball, and Box Hill United are asking for the offside flag. None forthcoming. There's no goal, so there's no harm, no foul either way. Another poor turnover from Box Hill United. A poor touch from Eva Harrington, who has tried hard, really hard this afternoon in the face of adversity.
I mean, the other complicating factor, Bren, is, of course, we know the competition's expanded, the season's longer, but also the teams that have come up have made it a much more crowded top end of the table than it has been in previous years. Even when Preston first came up, I mean, we've seen Burundara, they've really excelled since coming into the top flight and are right back up in the conversation as they were when they first got promoted. I mean, Alamein are always there and thereabouts, and this Box Hill team is maybe the most prominent example of a team that's come forwards leaps and bounds in the last season or two. And then even the teams that maybe you don't expect to so much, be competing for grand finals or Nike Cup finals, your Spring Hills and your Keilor Parks, but they're far from gimme games on a week-to-week basis. They're tough to beat. They're difficult places to go and play away, and we've seen that repeatedly throughout this season. So if you're Preston, it's a much more competitive environment into which you're trying to thrive, which is great for the competition. And of course, you've got the two academy teams as well, who are kind of wild cards in a way, with the best young talent in the state. So it's a much more dynamic competition than it was even 2 or 3 years ago. And so teams, I think, finding where it is that they fit in that more complicated ecosystem. We'll see how that pans out in the next couple of years.
Well, we know what Box Hill United are all about. They're going to be back into second spot on the table. So they're going to have advanced 2 positions on the table from where they were coming into match week 16. They got some help from Keilor Park yesterday. Bulleen stunningly slipping up. As you mentioned, Oscar, I can't wait for that cup game now on Thursday night. Keilor playing South Melbourne, of course, the defending champions in the Nike FC Cup competition. Victoria Zekas blasts it forward. Manerik will win this foot race. The backpedaling Rahorison. Manerik fires it into the penalty area. No one there in a blue shirt. Edwards turns it away.
Just to finish on the point about the state of the top flight of Victorian women's football, and it's not just the teams who have been the regular features, your Box Hills, your Burundaras, and your Alameins, investing more and looking more threatening, but it's of course the new teams as well. We know Avondale have made it up into the top flight now, but you look at the VPL competition this season and those teams right at the top hunting for promotion, your Bunduras, your Elthams, your Clifton Hills as well. And well, we've seen that they can certainly already match it with lower half NPL teams.
Yep.
So I can't imagine it's going to get any easier in the years to come.
Yellow card here for Peliwoda. Matsumoto, back heel from Harrington. Papaleo, recovered from that knock a moment ago. Harrington's pass deflects off Holly Murray. And behind for a corner kick. That yellow card being picked up by Laura Pickett, not Peliwoda. I'll just correct myself there. So, corner kick here for Preston. And Nao Matsumoto comes over to take. Might get Oscar's thoughts on her performance after we have this moment of goalmouth action here. Is there a goal up for grabs for Preston tonight? We are in the final minute of the 90. Matsumoto's right-footed outswinger into the near post. And Percy met it well, but very tough angle by the time the ball arrived. And just a goal kick. What have you made of Matsumoto's debut?
Certainly waned in the second half, kind of the inverse of what we've seen with the A-League players. I think started really strongly, but it is, of course, always awkward transitioning to a new competition in a new country. So I don't think it's fair to put a whole lot of stock in her performance from this afternoon, no matter what it was. But certainly in the first half, we saw some some really good moments, some of the pressing that she was able to do in the work out of possession as well as with the ball at her feet. That ball's coughed up to Valentine Percy in a dangerous position, so another look here for Preston to maybe nab themselves a consolation goal. Harrington, here is Matsumoto, on the edge of the area, pulls the trigger with the left, and that's well managed, well watched, and a strong chest mark from Keely Sagavcic. Box Hill at this stage, no doubt with the main focus of just seeing out the remainder of the contest with their clean sheet intact. We do have confirmation that there will be just the 2 minutes of second half stoppage time to be played. The visitors may be showing some intent to add a fourth to their tally as Rihanna Policina picks up the ball on the edge of the area, waits for the run to be made by Erin Kate, who's crossed inside. Well, Policina was close to it. Now onto the edge of the area, Murakami with a final look at a hat-trick, but maybe not to be this afternoon for Maho Murakami, who, of course, started the game off in such fine fashion for Box Hill with that goal from the corner. And since then, that's really conditioned how the game's been played, and Box Hill doing their damage in the first 15 minutes of this second half, really putting Preston away.
Kawano bangs it forward, so Box Hill back up in the cup next weekend. Preston will have a break in their next league game in a couple of weeks. Away at Egan Lee Reserve against Burundara, where Burundara have been forced to play a lot this season. They've been forced away from the Veneto club. We are going to have a late corner kick here for Box Hill United, who've got scoring underway from a corner kick set piece situation. Murakami's goal in the 19th minute. And that come only maybe 30 seconds after Preston had a great opportunity to take the lead. It's looking like they are going to be held goalless again here at home this evening. Corner kick taken short. This is when I do like them taken short, Oscar. When you're just trying to salt away the final few seconds. That ball has gone out of play. It's gone back out for a repeat corner kick, as it's getting mighty dark here at Geneseo Stadium. They refuse to turn the lights on. What the Box Hill do here, send it into the mixer. Looks like that will be the plan. Eight of their blue shirts in the box. Turned away by Eva Harrington, and our referee Ben Howe blows the whistle. He has seen enough, and Box Hill United come to BT Connor Reserve. And they saw the opportunity today to take second spot on the table, and they seize it with a professional and classy 3-0 win away from home. It was a goal in the 19th minute from a set-piece situation, bundled in by Maho Murakami. They took a 1-0 lead into half-time, Box Hill United. Rihanna Policina then expertly won a penalty right on the hour mark that was dispatched again by Maho Murakami. And then from the ensuing kickoff after that goal, a terrible Preston error, and the ball fell to the boot of Rihanna Policina, who chipped the goalkeeper from about 45 yards. 2 goals in the space of 40 seconds. And that was all Box Hill United needed to get the 3 points away from home. Their away form has been a little bit dicey so far this season, but no such troubles in Reservoir this afternoon. And it's always nice to get a 3-0 result away from home, Oscar, and they'll brush themselves off, Box Hill, and have designs on beating Melbourne City next weekend and going into the Cup. But we've seen a very well-drilled, very skillful team here this afternoon, Box Hill United, that, we're very tight at the top, aren't we? We've got a lot of those teams that are fighting to get those home final positions and lift the trophy in September. But I think it would be a brave person to back against the side that was there and was able to do it on grand final day last season.
Yeah, very much so. I think classy is the right word to describe this afternoon's performance from Box Hill. They weren't at their brilliant flowing best for most of this game, but we certainly saw little flashes of that brilliance. And of course, the A-League players, particularly in attack, Karina Rossi and Rihanna Policina, as well as Laura Pickett a little bit further back, just working their way into their rhythm and their routine. And there, as you say, it'll take a brave person to get bet against Box Hill again, because when they get things right, I'm not sure there's anyone in the state who can stop them.
Box Hill United into second position on the table. Preston continue to be mired in the middle ground. For myself, Brent Sternberg, Oscar Rutherford, and our cameraman, Sam, thanks for your company this evening, everybody, on the NPL Victoria YouTube channel. The final score here at Geneseo Stadium. Preston Lions 0, Box Hill United 3. Good night.